Nothing like a cup of joe to start off your day right. I'm up at the crack of dawn, earlier than usual, and that's because we want to get started on the copper electric factory, but I decided to get up a little early, because we have one other task to do before that, and that is concrete production. On the right-hand side of the screen, as you can see, we've got a very busy day today. But why are we doing concrete? Well, at the back of the space elevator, I'd stored up all the materials that we had packed down from the old original factory. So it's all just basically there, any of the copper stuff, because we don't have a copper factory in the world right now. The motor factory does make wire in surplus, but we don't have cable and we don't have copper sheet. And we don't have any of the other products that come from that stuff. So a copper factory is on the cards for a little later. But also what we took down is concrete. We don't have any concrete and I'm starting to run a bit low. So before building out the new factory, which is going to be there, we're going to head north around to this location. And we're going to grab ourselves a new limestone deposit, pure node, and just tap it for all it's worth. Not going to use the wet concrete recipe, which is a great recipe by the way. You mix water and all of that. Just want to get this one done quick, slam it down, get the job done, and get concrete rolling through, I don't know, 2 or 3 dimensional depots into our back pocket. So wherever we go, we'll always have the building materials we need. Now, you may have noticed something, eagle-eyed viewers out there. There's occasionally 2 power poles next to each other. Power towers, that is. And one of them's red. Why would I do that? Well, I've gone ahead and done the unthinkable, the insane. I've separated my power into 2 separate lines. We now have this line here, a variable line, a line that bounces up and down uncontrollably, because that's attached to anything like awesome sinks, lights that turn on and off, truck stations even, and hypertubes. You know, anything that activates when we interact with it or we know that something is going to vary on it, it goes on the variable line. The other line is my standard unpainted power tower, and it's a static line. It has almost no fluctuation whatsoever. And I'd like to pretend like it has absolutely none. You can see here consumption and max consumption are pretty much a solid line across the board, and then we have 16,000 megawatts of capacity. Now, quick answer to a question I know you're all thinking. Where's the power for that one coming? It's coming from the coal power plant, right? So coal power plant is doing 2,700 all the way down here. So that seemed like a perfect, like, mini little power line to keep anything that varies on it. In the future, we'll add trains, geothermal power, anything that kind of spikes up and down. We'll try to put it onto that. Everything else will go onto this. Now, you don't have to do this. This is OCD gone mad, right? And as you can see, oh, it looks so good, though, when you get it right. But then you see these little fluctuations, and it makes me want to kill myself. And I've spent quite a long time nailing down all of those fluctuations. Now, why are they there and what's happening? Well, it turns out that when you load the game, things to do with liquids have little rounding errors. How fun is that? I've spent maybe 3 days figuring all that stuff out, spending a ridiculously long time on it. And basically, my experiment is this. Bear with me for a second. If I just let time run now and we see a totally clean power line, it never fluctuates. Great. I quit the game, I load back into the same save that I loaded before. Having just loaded in, the line fluctuates. So that tells me that it's not really the simulation of the factory, it's more the loading and unloading process that causes just a little glitch, a little hitch in the line. Can it be prevented? That's up to you to figure out. I don't know. It seems like liquids, my guess is because pipes are bi-directional, liquid can go either way, and when you start a game, it probably just hangs there for a second deciding, should I go left, should I go right, which way am I going, before getting pushed in whatever direction. That's my guess. So there's a little hitch on the line, and that hitch eventually has a trickle-down effect where it does even affect certain machines. The power fluctuations you were seeing there are predominantly oil not working right or not getting into the refinery correctly. So yeah, so trying to get ahead of that one and deal with it. Now, if we just let the game run for a little while, that'll actually go away. So I'm actually still pretty content with it. I have just loaded in, so that's why it's doing that. We'll check it later, and I'll eat my words if I'm wrong yet again, just like the conveyor belt thing that people just wouldn't let go. But deservedly so. I was calling Coffee Stain out, and I was acting like an right idiot because right in front of me, I'd created my own problem. If you haven't seen it in the last video, please don't check it out. Anyways, we're going to build here. By the way, that thing does have a legitimate problem. My example was just like the error. But the actual belt counters, they do have an issue. So that's why I was confident to show it, but being an idiot the way I did. And it was funny. Looking back on it and all the comments just telling me, like, you know, you're counting it wrong. And I'm just standing there like, oh, so you know, like 180 is supposed to be 150. And it's like, yeah, it's the wrong way around. Good job, Darren. Right, so self-depreciation, deprecation, that's the word, out of the way. Here we have our Mark II miner. We're going to load it up to 480 per minute. Now, of course, we only have the red line power pole with us here. We'll have to bring over one of the other ones in a moment. And I haven't really planned this out. The idea is just simple. So, I want to also use vertical splitters and mergers, but there is rocks in the way there. To use a vertical merger and a splitter correctly, or at least nicely, we need to actually have room underneath the thing. So I'm going to push it forward, even though I just said I shouldn't do that. That's one layer. We need to do our next layer now. So obviously, I'm just going to continue doing it the way I've done in previous videos. Going to get our 5x4, we'll blueprint mode it onto the top. Get the bottom layer, stick that up here. Okay, looks good. Let's just do that again. So this time the floor goes back on top. And then one more row of these. Alright, so there we have it. I decided just to break the camera out while I was kind of floating around, just so we can get a look at the actual build. I think I might do this actually more often in the videos if people don't mind, instead of me hovering around, hopping around all the time. But there we go, right? We have our 15 machines in place. The power tower power lines are actually running right through the build itself, so our traversal would not be interrupted, which is just kind of nice. So, there we go. Now, I've also gone ahead and set the rate of each machine, so it's going to be 71.1 recurring percent, so 10.67 per minute out. With 15 machines, we're going to be getting 160 per minute concrete, so not that much really in the grand scheme of things, but our current upload rate to the dimensional depot is 369, so we could have at least, well, we could maybe do 6 depots, or I could maybe just go ahead and increase that speed. So let's go to the alien technology chain down to upload upgrade 60 per minute. Now we can double it, so 6, 12, 18. So then we would only need 3. So that'd be nice. And we still have 20 Mercer spheres to mess around with. We now need to get this to line up and go into each one here. So here's the problem. If we want to use a vertical splitter or a vertical merger, we can't just place it like we do with this splitter. A vertical splitter would allow you to bring it up the top, but there's no way of doing that just here with this object by itself. Instead, what you have to do is build a lift. The lift goes up, connect across, and then we can put the splitter and latch it on, right? You can even latch it to the bottom, but that would just be a regular one. It has to be on the lift part itself, and you can see the model actually changes to have the hole on the top. What a lot of people don't realize is it also blocks the sides, so you're still only dealing with 3 outputs, right? So we're feeding from the bottom, and we're going out the left, out the right, and out the top. So there's 3 outputs just as there were before. The problem with this is you can't feed it in from the side and then out the top. You have to feed it in from the bottom as well. That's the other rule. That's what makes it a bit awkward to use. So what I'm going to try and do here is place this down on the bottom. Right, so giving lots of space for this thing to be created. Now, also the direction of the output matters. We want to go out. And we'll just whack this all the way up for now. We'll get our splitter here. Rotate so we're facing sideways. And then we can go up to about there. Now, locking it in place, for some reason, creates that hologram where you're not allowed to build it. Right, now that it's in place, we can delete these. Actually, those ones need to stay, but delete the bottom for a minute. And this is what we got. We have this little infrastructure here. Now, these are Mark 1, so we need to make these 4 and 4. And we'll just do 3s that are branching off. Nice and straight. Easy peasy. Okay, so what about this then? So this is where it gets a little awkward. Ultimately, we need to bring it in from over there. We'll cut that away. So now we've got this floor hole here, and we have nothing here. So this can be our input. Now the other annoying thing is, this doesn't line up with this, so this is why we'll hide it. But we'll just go with the Mark IV here. And if I go down, it's too low. If I go here, it's too high. So there's nothing you can really do about that other than when I built that initial belt to begin with, if I had left it there, it would have been the right height. But now from pulling down from this, it's not. It's just satisfactory things. It's just experimental things. Hopefully, maybe they can fix that, please. Thank you. Right, let's try Mark IV. Just feed right in there. Now, hopefully we'll never have to look in there again, never see this contraption. And then we'll start with a Mark IV here. And 4 in. Almost straight, not quite. Could we do a curved belt? Would that look good, or would that just confuse it further? It looks alright. Let's do that. Alright, so this is how we get our input to go in from the side. I might make a blueprint for that, actually. But, you know, where the levels are actually correct, so it's not offset. That way we could just deploy these whenever we want. I think I'll probably do that, actually. I don't know why it just never occurred to me till now. Alright, so now we just need to do the same but for vertical merging. Super easy. So let's grab our... Okay, so we need to start on the bottom again. I'll bring this out, cut this away as well, I guess, and bring this out on the bottom. We'll start with our lift facing towards me, so that should be right. And we want it to go, yeah, in from the top. So we'll just send this all the way up, grab our mergers, and then just try to make them aligned, rotate in. And there. Now we can cut away the top. The bottom should actually be in the right position, so we'll just go with a 1 meter foundation here. Floor hole in. Then we get this. Now they're actually aligned, so that's how you would align them. If you start from the foundation, that works. Now we can send this out onto some sort of splitter. So I'd say here. So smart splitter, let's just redeploy that. Just get that in the right place. Alright, cool. Now, awesome sync. Maybe there? Now we're only ever dealing with 160 per minute, so let's just roll right in here, and we'll send this to overflow. And then anything out the right. Now, ultimately, we're going to roll in, I don't know, somewhere in the middle and hit a regular splitter as we go into our 3 containers. Alright, there we go. 1, 2, 3 containers. And now we'll just go with a splitter. Now, we could go with a splitter maybe somewhere there. And this should just be able to go straight in. Yeah. That goes that way, that goes that way. So we're evenly distributing to all of them. And then, do they come out too far at the back? Well, this isn't going to be inside, it's going to be outside. So I'm actually totally fine with this. So let's just go with a dimensional depot uploader on each one. And then we'll go with the belt speed of Mark III, because it's never going to get better than that. Alright, so this also needs to be Mark III. 3, 3, 3. And there we go. Alright, this should be pretty straightforward. Now the good thing is, this is our variable line, so our variable line can just be here and connect right in. So that doesn't clip through, we could maybe pop it here. That's a bit better. We can cover this back up with the 1 meter. We could wrap walls around this or do that half foundation, I think, all the way around. Might look a bit better then. So we'll do foundations, half foundation, and just make sure it's aligned correctly. So like that. Alright, so brought over the second power line. It's ready to go right here. We'll just connect it over and let's see if everything works. So it'll obviously take a little while to get going because it is a manifold system, but we do expect everything to run at 100% hopefully. And we should see 160 concrete per minute feeding into our dimensional depot. Alright, so I'm just watching how things are going to go here. Basically, the line is rolling out. We have our 5 machines on the bottom. We move up 3 layers, we can see our vertical splitter doing its thing. Seems to be working fine. As so far I can tell. Now we've got our first little batches of concrete rolling out. Slips under and then comes out here, of course. So we get the missing satisfaction of seeing it go from there to there, but, you know, it's all good. We know it's happening. And just like that, we're being divided 3 ways into our 3 industrial storage containers. So I'm probably going to go around and just, again, add a little bit more trim to this place, just some barriers and things like that, and then we'll check in on it again and move on. Alright, that's got to be pretty much it. So I'm still waiting on the manifold to trickle its way down to these end machines, so just these 2 here and these 2 here. They're going to be the ones to get things last, because obviously we're doing a manifold from the bottom up, and these 2 layers have been, you know, they're the last 2 on the split line, so basically they receive things pretty much evenly. So yeah, so just waiting on those, but they're at like 90% efficiency now, so I've no doubt, just give it another 5 to 10 minutes, they'll be totally fine. But as you can see, it's all flowing nicely, and we can now leave this place. And we'll check back on our main line to see if it's fluctuating, and we can now track it down and know where it's happening, if that's the case. Now, something else you might be noticing is that I've gone ahead and redone all the roads. Not all of them, I've left some as the narrow road variant. But I decided to upgrade this one to my medium road variant, so MR segment 3x5. That's because I felt like we're going to actually have trucks on this road a little bit more than usual, and it just felt natural to continue it pretty much all the way out. So, let's just mark concrete production off the list. Alright, so this build is going to be a 30 by 15 in terms of foundations, and then we're going to go up multiple floors. I haven't decided really how I'm going to do the upper floors, but I pretty much know how I'm going to do the bottom floor because it is truck stations. So we're just going to quickly pad that out using a 2-meter foundation right in against the foundation, out to 30, so 30 in a line out this way. So one thing that I wasn't too sure about, it kind of bothered me, but we're going to be building over a deposit, this one here. It's an impure limestone deposit. I don't think I'm ever going to need it, so we're just going to go over it. So I kind of felt bad about it though, you know? Don't like kind of, I guess, removing a resource, but it is what it is. Now I'm just going to delete this last one here, and we're going to go across 15, so that's 10. And then a further 5. Hopefully that keeps us away from the copper. We're going to be using that copper and iron over there. So one of the reasons for choosing this location, you know, why did I decide here, is because there's an impure node of copper and there's an impure node of iron just over there. And I thought it'd be good to try to maximize the space we have, you know, trying to build, relatively speaking, all in the desert and bring as much stuff into the desert as we can. So I kind of want to use every inch of space that we have before we have to push out further. And I'm sure we'll have to when it comes to trains and things like that. We're going to need a lot of room to bring stuff in. Anyways, so yeah, just in thinking about, I want to build a little mini kind of facility here connected to there. So these two little deposits, you can't even see that one, but it's just in the hole down there. It's just there. So these two are going to combine together in foundries to make some copper sheets for us that are necessary for this factory. Everything else is going to be brought in by truck. So I'm just going to now foundation across this whole thing, and then we'll catch up after that. All right, good thing I got a lot of extra concrete, right? Because that bled me dry. So what I'm going to do here is, this will be the entrance. We'll start marking it out with asphalt. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's a little road of 4. So our gate could be here. And then our first block will be here. Okay, so I've been trying to improve the visual consistency of trucks. You know, they're very glitchy and weird, and they need a lot of working around them to make them look good. I mean, they always work, at least in my playing of them, or my experience. They always work. The logic works fine. But if you're in the area, the physics activates, and they glitch out, and they look really weird. And we want to minimize that as much as possible, because that turns people off using them. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to cut away this, and cut this barrier away. So this is our first little entrance here. Now the factory, I'm not going to bring it all the way up to the edge here. We'll cut away some of this concrete in a moment, just to get an idea. Actually, one thing I need to get rid of as well is just the actual bits of road. Oh, by the way, you'll notice this tractor, it's driving right down the middle. This is where the old road used to be. So it's on the right side of the old road. And this is where we extend it out. One foundation out to the right. So I need to redrive that route. There's only one route that comes this way. It's just that tractor, I think. Actually, there might be coal as well. So there could be 2. I'll have to check on that. But yeah, redriving 2 routes. Bit of a pain, but not too bad. Alright, so now that's what we're left with. We have 2 little entrances. Or like 1 entrance, 1 exit. This will be the entrance, actually, and that'll be the exit. So if we're entering, we'll want to turn from here. Yeah, so we're driving on the right and we want to pull in. So that means we're going to cut away this and cut away this little section, and I guess as well these 2. Alright, so nice and blank. So now what we're going to use is an inverted up corner. So like that. And then we'll just make this asphalt. And there. So now we've got a much nicer turn in. So as our truck is coming in, we should have a kind of an easier time of turning in, because they tend to overshoot the turns. They're a bit finicky, but this will just give us a little bit of breathing room as we come in. Then what we're going to be doing is banking to the left and going along lanes. So we need 6 of these. So every 2, so 1, 2, and then we get a lane going right across here. And then we get 1, 2, and then a lane going across. And this will just keep going on all the way down to the end till we have our 6 lanes. That's 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right, so this should, I'm hoping, reduce the amount of visual disturbance that we experience with trucks. We'll see, though, if I'm right about this. Okay, so here comes the next thing. So as we're coming in from this side, we want a kind of a nice bend as we come in this way. So I've got a blueprint. We have the corner foundation 2 meter. So it's a 4x4 foundation block with one side angled to make a corner. So basically, if we rotate this around, that's it. That's the best I could do. So we have the inverted up corner here, and then we have one on the bottom, and then we have a pillar that goes through the middle, and it's sunk in a little further in so it doesn't clip out the edges or anything. So it's the best I could kind of make it look. And there's another thing we can do to enhance the look. We now have the corner foundation with trim. So this one has some metal on it and a beam going around it as well. So there we go. And I'll paint this to make it look a bit better. So now we just do asphalt here. And as we come in with our truck, we bank to the left and just go around, like hopefully not hit anything and easily get around. So I decided not to do truck stations in a line this time. And that's basically because I've found that the trucks tend to morph and phase through the truck stations when the node before the station is like at an angle. So let's say the station node is there where they wait and drop in and drop off stuff, and the other one is here. So it's like, yeah, you gotta go and then turn. What I'm finding often seems to happen only when you're in the area, but if you're not in the area, it's fine. But if you're in the area, they like warp and like glitch and phase and like go through this way, and then the truck is like spasming behind the truck station. I was like, why is that happening? So after watching the behavior for quite a while, I think it's because I often have truck stations in a line, right? 3 in a line, and you want to avoid this one, so it comes in at a sharp angle and then turns. But then it kind of corrects the nodes when it reaches the truck station, and because of that correction, it's, I don't know, it kind of messes with the data, I guess. So, probably not explaining that very well. It doesn't really matter. Either way, we'll just build blocks now, and I'm building them raised also to help with this. So this is another thing. And I've tested this, and it does seem to alleviate the issue. I haven't tested it at scale, but we'll see how it goes. So I'll just do one block here so we can all see, and then I'll just do the other 6 myself. So we can now just continue. This is just a H-beam. And we just bring it straight across all the way down to the end. And we rotate it 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that should just align and slot normally. We get our corner foundation here. And same thing for helping us get out easily. And then back to the asphalt here. So this is going to have to be done here as well. And they're all going to be facing the same direction, right? Because they're all coming out the same way. They don't need that on the other side. So we'll go there. This is all good. And here. Alright. Now, the idea is to group these together. So this will be truck station number 1. We could put it on the left or the right, but I don't know. I just feel like on the right's better. I don't know. So that's what we're going to do. So truck station. And if we're coming in from this side, I actually want it to be a little further down on this side than on the other side. Just a little bit. So this would be that's 4 on the right and 3 on the left. So perfect. I'm going to bring it all the way to the edge. Now, normally I would often bring the truck station here, right? So the white bounding box is in line with the concrete. But this would be spilling over by 1. We're now going to do it from the back. And this will spill over just a little bit. I'm also going to make sure that this output is lined up with the foundation. So again, we're pushed in by 1, and we're sort of pushed out by 1. And by the way, this was made in-game. No tricks, no mods used for this or anything like that. It wasn't that difficult. It's just a little bit of clipping, and then trying to mask it with beams and stuff. So there is basically a wall here and there. So they're right next to each other. But for some reason, and I actually don't know why, it doesn't clip through itself. Because I did do it one time and it did like flicker. And then I saved it a different time and it didn't. And I was like, oh, I'm keeping that one. So that's the one we got. So it's not perfect, you know. We're going to reveal some odds and ends about it. It's not perfect, but I'm happy enough with it, you know. Generally speaking, I think we can get away with it. All right, I quite like this little one-on-one time we get with each other. You know, I just get to sit down in front of the camera and have a little chat. I'm going to do this more often unless people absolutely hate it. So basically, I've been working on these 6 truck stations for quite a while because I was watching a video in the background. A little gaming video, and I got inspired by the art style I was seeing. Can you guess what it is? I'm sure a lot of people know, but I'll leave it to the comments to figure that one out for those who are interested to know. It's not an endorsement of that game. I have no kind of opinion of it one way or the other. I haven't been playing it or anything. I just really like the art style, and I thought it would be quite fitting for this place in particular because there are 6 trucks driving in delivering things. And you would imagine if a truck has cameras that it needs to know what it's delivering into each different row, it would need a hyper high contrast bold color set so that it never makes mistakes or get confused, or at least try to ease that as much as possible. So that was kind of the vision there, and the reason I went with this kind of color scheme. Now, the colors that I picked, they'll be in my blueprint color picker thing, where you can just go to whatdarrenplays.com/satisfactory to go find them yourselves. If you want to get an extremely bold color, like bolder than you can normally get in the game, if you do this, if you go down to 1 on the very bottom 3rd tier of whatever this is, and click 10, like type in 10 and hit enter, or type in 20. Type in any number you want, a higher number than 1, and you'll get a brighter and brighter and brighter color set until it becomes extremely bold. So that's basically what I did in order to achieve this like very bright red and this very white, because it's even, this is polished concrete, but there's almost no sheen on it. It's almost like a matte concrete now because of how white we've made it. So yeah, so I just thought I would share that tip. I'm sure a lot of you know, but in case you didn't, now you do. All right, so that is the foundations and truck stations done. Next thing is going to be grabbing a little bit of copper. So this place needs 100 copper sheet, or at least that's the target. It actually needs 80, but I want to make some in reserve for myself, so 20 in reserve. So we're going to target making 100 per minute. That's 10 constructors just making normal copper sheets. Not going to do the steamed copper sheet recipe. So in order to get the 200 copper ingots, we're going to tap that node there and the iron node that's just around the corner. But that's going to require an alternate recipe. At the moment, we don't have it, right? If we just type copper ingot, the standard recipe would be just this amount of ore and that. We wouldn't be able to do it with the one impure node we have available to us. But if we take the impure iron node and mix the two together, we can get it no problem. Now, I actually think I have the recipe. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure I probably do. Let me just type copper. Copper alloy ingot. Well, there it is. And we could have rescanned this. Rubber concrete was another option. So, yeah, 5 equal parts copper and iron gives you double the copper ingot. It's like 5 ore, you get 10 ingots. So I guess I can't really word that out correctly, but you get me, right? Equal parts copper and iron, boom, 100 ingots per minute. Awesome. So we only need 2 foundries because we're going to do 200. So it's 100 copper, 100 iron, 200 copper ingots out per minute, and then we'll have 10 constructors doing copper sheet. So I'm just going to do that now. It should be pretty quick, and then I'll move to the more interesting part of the build in a minute. Alright, so I know it is nighttime, but I've got my belt bridge in place. I'm just sitting on the deposit here, the iron deposit. It is slightly misaligned, of course. So we'll have to just angle it a little bit. And then with a Mark II curved belt, should go in there just no problem. I don't know if I'm just looking at this wrong, but I feel like that should be there. I know they said they did a fix for these. But am I crazy in thinking that's backwards? I don't know. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. But anyway, yeah, so this will just travel along. It goes into the factory right underneath our 2 little foundries here. Apologies for the nighttime again, but I carved out a little block of color here, laid out my 2 foundries. They're merging, and they'll be going upstairs. I'm just building the upstairs at the moment. And basically each deposit set to 100 per minute, just being fed along and being divided equally here on the splitter and the one below, obviously, for this one. And that's pretty much it. So nice and clean, nice and simple. So I'm just going to go up a floor and then decide what we're going to do with these 6 stations. Now, I've just been thinking about how to do fuel distribution. So this system seems to work totally fine. If we just have a splitter here on the seam of a foundation, just before the input for fuel, but over to the left of it. So this is in line here. We just move that over to the left. This can just then come straight down, snap in. And then these can just follow along like that. So these didn't used to snap to the roof before. Now they do. So it's quite nice just to place them down like this. And pretty quick overall. So I'm just using Mark 1 on each one, going down. And I thought about just raising it slightly over the thing, but I think it'll look better on the roof because I'm going to put some stuff around it to make it look a bit better, hopefully anyway. At least that's the plan. Kind of metal pillars and vents and stuff might make it look kind of cool. Right, so this is the one on the end. This is the one where liquid biofuel is actually going to be coming out. So I'll probably just... I was thinking that might go upstairs, but obviously not. It's just going to go like this, I guess. So right to the top, and then I'll just use a straight belt around it in like that. So it just keeps the layout the same for everyone all the way down, even on this one here. So it's feeding itself and feeding all the others. Totally fine, right? And then all the other ones are going to be going upstairs on their outputs. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here's the current work in progress for the 2nd floor of the Copper Electric Factory. So I thought I would just slow down time here and kind of talk you through the process. You know, I did the planning for that factory, and that went really well. People seem to really enjoy that kind of build and how it came from just painting the foundations and good planning, hopefully, and everything just kind of worked and came together with blueprints. This is a smaller scale version of that. I can't really blueprint it all because, well, there isn't really as much need to. Because a lot of the machines are just individual. Now, I do have blueprints for that, but I thought just really quickly I would just place the machines down. This gives me a broader idea for space. I know that I need space behind and in front of each machine. So let's talk about how I've kind of worked out the space and how I'm kind of designating what each station should do. Honestly, when I built this, I don't know what this station's going to do. I know that we need 6. I'm bringing in 6 things, one of them biofuel, but I'm bringing in 5 things that need to be used in machines. I evenly spaced them, and now I'm just going to work out like how they're going to fit together. So I've kind of got a loose plan for it here, not even fully done yet. So the copper is coming in from here, right? The foundries are directly downstairs. They just happen to be there, so we're going to work with it. So popping that back in for now. So the copper ingots, 200 per minute, are rolling in this way. So I've blocked out a little blueprintable area here, room for 10 constructors, 5 on the bottom, 5 on the top, and room along the side for something else. Although, I actually don't even know if I need that, really. I might tuck it in, actually, because I don't think I do. But we'll see. Anyways, 10 constructors here. We're going to be doing copper sheet. Now, I know that I want to produce a little bit of extra copper sheet than I need. 20 per minute. We need 80. So what do we need the 80 for? Well, they have to go into circuit boards. Circuit boards are going to be made in assemblers. So we're going to be selecting circuit board. And they're going to need copper sheet and plastic. It's like, okay. Copper sheet and plastic. So what should my first truck station be? Seems to make sense that if the copper sheet kind of has to be made here, because that's where the copper came in, then plastic should just be right across from it. Rather nicely, a little bit of that plastic actually needs to go into computers. The circuit boards are needed to make computers. So the next layer over, I've gone with manufacturers, and they can handle the computers. They're going to take in the circuit boards directly, they'll take in the plastic, and then we'll also need cable. So what should my next thing be? Oh, I just got confused again for myself there for a second. I was going to be like cable, but this says wire. That's because we need wire and something else to make the cable. So wire is going to be going into this truck station. This is the 3rd one over though. So what about the middle one? It's rubber. It's the other component that we need for cable. So I'm using an alternate recipe to mix rubber and wire together to make cable. So we're doing rubber first and wire here because wire is actually going to be needed in something else. So it's kind of like putting together a little jigsaw puzzle. It's like, I realize that I've been trying to explain a jigsaw puzzle verbally for absolutely no reason other than I just like the sound of my own voice, I guess. So let's scrap that and cut that out and pretend it never happened. So to get back on track, it's like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. Colored blocks that just need to fit together, and we're also trying to work out the shortest route from one point to another, if we can. No big deal if we can't. You know, we can always make a long belt the length of the factory. But ideally, in solving this puzzle, that's what we're trying to do. Okay, so we've established that cable is being made here from rubber and wire. Perfect. Cable and the copper sheet actually have something in common. This is going to be copper sheet here. We make a little bit more than we need to of both. When I was doing the numbers for the factory, you sort of set a target at the end and then work your way back. At least that's what I do. I say, I want to make 10 adaptive control units for various reasons. Maybe the belt speed is your limiting factor of ore, or maybe I only made a certain amount of something else that I had enough to send into this factory. It's like, okay, I've got 400 rubber and 400 plastic. I can't really do more than that without then needing to build a whole oil setup. So there's other limiting factors that go into it. But anyways, because we removed the initial copper factory that was just outdoors, and I'm burning through cable and wire and stuff like that. Actually, wire, again, it's being made over the motor factory. I keep mentioning that, but it's copper sheet and cable are the two things I'm missing in terms of going into my dimensional depot, going into my inventory so I can build with it. So the interesting thing is then puzzle piece wise saying like, well, if the copper sheet is going out this way and the cables we made over here, what if we just take that machine, instead of underclocking all 3, we'll just take that one, underclock that to 50%, send it out to the left, send this one forward, and have a little dimensional depot awesome sync area over here. Now that might be far away from computers. Computers is there, and that also kind of needs to go into a dimensional depot, but if 2 of them are close, that's pretty good, and this one's not too far. So we'll just grab some computers and send them along this track down here, or something like that. We could always build another dimensional depot or another awesome sync further over that way, but I suppose you want to be somewhat efficient and just try to use the minimal amount of awesome syncs you can. Cuts down on power. They do count for like 30 megawatts of power. It's like 2 assemblers or something. So try to cut down on those where we can. Alright, so that's that. So that's why these things are here where they are. So that naturally meant then that the next thing in line, if wire was being placed here, it should be steel pipe, because we need some steel pipe and some wire to combine together to make stators. The stators and the cable both combine to make automated wiring. Well, actually, before I go any further, we may as well put the first ones down. So we need in from the left and out to the left machines, but I need them in groups of 5. So let's go with this. Go with regular mode. So yeah, I'm a bit unsure if I should start somewhere here. Oh, this is the wrong way around. I always do that. If I should start here or a bit further over. Can't really think of a reason I need to. My god, it's like always nighttime. Right, so just made a couple changes here. I'm now moving them out to the right instead. So I will use this little hazard area to actually merge my belt back up before they go into the assemblers, which we'll place there. So what I've done instead is down the bottom. These 2 machines, 1, 2, they're just separated. They're off on their own. So 20 per minute can travel out that way. The rest will all combine, and that'll be the 80 per minute needed to go into the assemblers fresh. So this way we just stay along the bottom without getting like a little too crazy and blocking anything else that might be coming this way, namely the plastic. Plastic can just come out at a little bit of a higher height and just go over it, no big deal. Or we shift that over and just bring it over like that, one or the other, doesn't really matter. Alright, so blueprints. Now we need 6 assemblers. Yeah. So now they're centered, at least with the block that they're on, because remember, we might be coloring these, so I think it'll look kind of neat to do it that way. So these need to be clocked down. So circuit boards. We're ultimately targeting making 40 per minute. So if I say 40 divided by 6 machines, 6.6666 recurring each is what they need to make. So there. All good? I think so. Alright, cool. So yeah, so I'll keep the plastic on the ground. I think it might look a bit better that way. So we'll connect the plastic from here. Out, please. I'll upgrade the belt speed. Actually, I guess I should do it now. So it's a Mark III. And we'll just go straight belt along here, and then it'll have to split. So we could do a smart splitter, so that we guarantee more goes in this way first, and then overflow goes that way, because this is the first line you want to fill first, so not a big deal. Don't really have to do that, but it's kind of nice to. Overflow, and then any, just for the fun of it, we'll say plastic, just so we know exactly what it is, and if we happen to deliver the wrong thing into the wrong station, it won't go into the machines, or get too far up there anyway. Alright, so Mark III out of our mind, and then, so this actually does need to go to the top. That's okay. We could do that perfectly just fine right here. Totally planned for. Alright. You continue and do your thing all the way down the line. And there we go. That's 6 hooked up from this side. So the next thing then, we'll be getting the merger here. Getting this to line up to the top. Default mode, please. There we go. Alright, and then, yeah, it only needs to be a Mark II belt, it's 80 per minute. And that's just going to roll around and go right in there. Just to make it look a bit nicer, we'll start there. Go in. There we go. Alright, connect that across. So that'll be our copper sheet. Nice. Alright, cool. Okay, these are actually going to go out to the left instead. This is how you know I don't really pre-plan everything. Because these probably would be better suited to going out the left. And I'm not going to replace everything now. I might as well just put these back down and reconnect those belts. So my reasoning for that was that this could be like a more linear belt track. 2 foundations long with belts going along onto the next rows of machines. Going out that side doesn't make as much sense, especially since there's less machines here. You'd have to go out and then curve in. We could chop away a lot of foundations there by not doing that. So just get rid of this as well. And then reconnect these. Alright, so that's connected there. So our plastic is going to continue coming this way. This is actually a 60 per minute belt. But I think using the overflow is still the right idea to fill the first line of the manifold. So it's just going to go in this way. So should I build manufacturer with different? Nah. I'll tell you what though, we could use the blueprints I have for these manufacturers, because at least they have some built in. And I can just use them as anchors to replace them. I probably should make a new blueprint for it, but I'm just not going to. Alright, so we'll start there. Now, we need 3 of these. And this is aligned with the center of the foundation, so maybe there. Right, so that remaining plastic can just go straight in. The other 2 manufacturers can be removed. And this one could just be copied over. Now, how I do the power on top might be different. I haven't decided yet. I'm trying to do some different things with this factory, so I'll just do 3 in a line here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is a computer manufacturer, so it only needs 3 inputs. So select a different recipe. There we go. So we need cable, plastic, and circuit boards set to 100%, which they are. You're going to go up, rotate around, go into this spot if you can. There we go. And before you go in, you're going to do the same thing your plastic buddy did, which is we'll give you a smart splitter here, because some of the circuit boards needs to go on. By the way, in 1.0 and 1.1, circuit boards don't have any practical use anymore. They just get used in machines. They're a complete, like, intermediary. Before, I think they used to be used in train signals and stuff, but not anymore. So you don't need to keep any of them. So that's why I'm just getting rid of everything. Just they're completely being used up in machines, which is great. Right, well, that was off. So just nudge that over. Delete that. Pop that back down here. And it should have the same setting. Nice. So overflow out the center, circuit boards down the next chain. Yeah, I'm just going to move these ever so slightly, the cable machines, because again, it was just rough draft. But if I line up the input with this line here, what comes out of here should line up and go in just fine. Let's get rid of these 2. I don't think I've actually unlocked this recipe yet. Again, let's have a look in the MAM. Insulated cable, there we go. So, got it. Alright, wire and rubber producing cable. Love it. Alright, so I just realized I made a couple errors. Number 1, automated wiring is made in assemblers, not in manufacturers. So that's actually working out really good for us. Number 2, the automated wiring is the thing that's taking the bulk of the cable, not the computers. I had said 200 had to travel along here into computers. It's actually only 20 per minute each, so it's only 60 per minute. So that means my numbers are a little off. I had them right before, and then I adjusted them during the episode, not realizing someone smarter than me, aka myself, had already figured this out for me. I'm becoming dumber by the minute. So 100 cable per minute, that needs to be true of all these machines. And that's what I originally wrote on the planning thing. It said 3 assemblers at 100%. And I was like, why would I need 100 cable per minute going into my dimensional depot? It wasn't the case. The plan is to have 40 left over. So I've got a smart splitter here that will do overflow. And the overflow can now go out this way to the left. So let's just set that. We'll do overflow out the left and anything out the right. So it's now going to be 300 cable going this way, 60 of which is going to break off and go to the right. So we're going to have to try and go up and over in the center here. Like so. And this 60, we need to go higher than this. There we go. And this 60 can continue on into the manufacturers. So they only need 20 per minute each. So there's only 60 per minute in total over there. Perfect. The remaining 200 needs to go this way. So 200, then 60, that's 260, left with 40 left over for myself. Alright, so plan fixed. Now, that's another thing I was thinking. I was like, oh man, where do we block out the manufacturers here? We need quite a lot. It's so fortuitous that we only need... Let me just double check that. We just need automated wiring, right? There's only 2 inputs, so I would... Yeah, cool. So, much smaller footprint for 4 machines. So, it's great, because, yeah, we can just basically do another version of this blueprint, but we can say in... Yeah, actually, in, right, out, right, if we could find that one. This one. But maybe just 1 machine. I'm looking for all R's. There we go. Alright, cool. So, we'll just move that down to here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This still gives this room to come out. That gives that room to breathe as well. Not much, granted, but it is room to breathe, nonetheless. So we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's our steel pipe completely sorted. Great. Yep, and then this just goes straight in there. So this is stators, and there's only 10 per minute. Wow. So you must only need 2.5 per minute for all these machines. Let's just double check that. So automated wiring, 2.5 per minute, 2.5 per minute. Excellent. 50 cable. I guess it's all about the cable. All right, we'll just paste that all the way down. Looking good. Now, the only thing that would need to change is these need to be raised. Just to match the cable that's coming in from the other angle. Alright, and we just snap these in. They auto snap actually, which is very nice. Alright, looking good, looking damn good. Grab this, we go on. So this will have to be 270 per minute. Alright, that makes its way in. So it's 50 per minute each. Mark 1 belts are fine there. The 60 going off that way. Yep, we're looking good. We're looking damn good. Okay, so these are automated wiring coming together. Not aligned really with anything, although center aligned with the foundation, interestingly. So what I could do here, maybe, seeing as the heavy modular frames are there and the automated wiring is here, 2 components that need to go into these manufacturers, we could rotate them. It's all part of it. All right, let's keep going with this. So this is going to be our computers, right? Yes. Now some of the computers are going to break off and go back towards our lovely little special area, we'll call it. So we'll have a smart splitter here. Does that make sense? Yeah, just have to think about it there for a sec. So smart splitter here, that's going to go off that way down to our special little area where we handle overflow stuff. So how much are we making spare? 3.5 per minute. So each of these are doing 2.5 per minute, 7.5 in total. We need 4, so we're left with 3.5 per minute. Just a little bit to build with. You need computers and building train stations and stuff like that. And what's it called? Railway signals. So super important to get those. Yeah, so we'll just go to the third input over. That'll make things, I don't know, symmetrical between the 2 machines. And if I'm ever wondering where something is, we can check those belts a little bit easier, maybe. Now, we don't need a splitter here on the end, but it'll make the inputs line up nicer, so I don't mind doing that. My cat is getting frustrated. Looking good. Okay, we're almost done. So this one needs to go into splitter somewhere here. You're gonna go all the way in down there. And here. Next guy. You're gonna go to the almost the top part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Alright, so that's heavy modular frames that'll be coming out of there in the future. Alright. There we go. Heavy modular frames are in, and then the final thing is the circuit boards. So that's just going to be a standard height. 3 up. Now, the circuit boards are coming out of here, and they're going off to their special little place as well. I don't know why I find that funny, I just do. Alright, you can go here. And then we're just missing the input here. Right, so circuit boards, on you go. And then you connect in there. And this is the final lift. Alright, so that's going to now be 2 adaptive control units per minute. You damn right. Adaptive control it. 1 there. And there we go. Alright, so with that done, the factory is now poised, ready to be turned on, and ready to start producing 2 adaptive control units per minute, but also 20 copper sheet per minute, 40 cable, and 3.5 computers per minute. which will get us ready for the next phase, which means that's going to be it for the end of this video. This one went on quite a lot longer than anticipated, but there's still a lot to be done. We have to do the overflow room, drive all of the truck routes, power it all on. In the meantime, we're also going to make the versatile framework and the modular engine required to just push through phase 3 completely and start working our way into tier 8, is it? I can't even remember. But either way, we're going to be looking into aluminum and some bigger builds as we look and go further and further. So still a lot to be done in the next video for this factory. Remember, if you want to get any of the blueprints or the save file, you want to maybe finish the factory for me, go ahead. It'll be all there at whatdarrenplays.com/satisfactory. And oh, you know what I'm really looking forward to? You hear this? Hover pack. It's right in our hands. Alright, that's going to have to be it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Please do leave a like on this video. Please leave a comment and tell me what I'm doing wrong, as always. And I'll see you in the next one.